Hi, everyone. I don't know about you, but my Friday is going by fast and furious, but happy to be back from vacation. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes here. But our lead story for today is supporting workplace mental health post COVID-19. We'll look forward to sharing with you some insights and ideas, as well as talk among our panel about some of their thoughts about returning back to the workplace and supporting their employees. Angela has a special topic for us today, scale update and the mental benefits, all of that and more, to include our special guest, Shannon Rollins, with the Well Balanced Mind on Be Well TV. All of that and more on today's show. Let's get started.
Welcome to your Healthy by Association Weekly Wellness Check with Aaron Wolowick, Angela Pelk, and Jim Thompson.
Healthy by Association, everyone. My name is Aaron Wolowick. It is Friday, June 4th, and we're so happy to have you here with us today. We are up one and down one, so I'm back from vacation, but Jim is out today. We'll look forward to welcoming him back next week, but we do have a special guest this week that I want to introduce to you now. Shannon joins us today from the Well Balanced Mind on Be Well TV. And Shannon, I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about you, maybe your connection to health and wellness.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And my background, oh my gosh, I worked in corporate wellness. I actually was creating mental wellness. So this topic today is just so true to my heart. I created mental wellness and health and wellness programs for companies throughout the United States. And so I first started by doing that. And then I got really, really involved with alternative medicine and alternative health. And so I went back to school after that and ended up becoming a clinical hypnotherapist. So now I actually integrate holistic health principles within workspaces for mental well-being. And then I'm also, like you mentioned earlier, the host of the Well Balanced Mind with Be Well TV also. So I'm really excited to join you guys today for this topic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And, there's no more important time, I think, right now, certainly in the association community, and as many of our associations go back to work, to be thinking about mental health and the strain that's going to be put on all of us, both personally and professionally, as we emerge from the comfort and familiarity of our own homes and re-enter the workforce, whether it's going back to the office, going off-site to meet our members and attendees at meetings and events and conferences. So certainly lots to think about and consider. We'll talk about that more certainly as the show unfolds. But in the meantime, Angela, you know how this works. We'll do our weekly wellness check-in. Shannon will end with you so you can kind of get a lay of the land here. But Angela, on your health and wellness scale from 1 to 10 this week, where are you at? And tell us why.
I am feeling like a 9 this week. I don't know, something has just sort of clicked. And so I'm just feeling really good. I want to talk about the scale a little bit later, but I think I hate to say the scale is just making you feel the way you feel, but that's part of it though. And so I'm feeling really good. I'm doing the right thing. I did some good meal prep over the weekend. Got a chance to relax with some friends at our new summer site. We joined a pool club this year. So I'm really excited. Today was the last day of school for my son. And so we're ready for the summer, and I'm just feeling good. Like things are falling into place.
That's awesome. Interestingly enough, I think on that same sort of 1 to 10 rating scale, as I reflect on my own personal health and wellness this week, I would put myself at a 9 as well. I think that, what we like to do, and we'll remind our viewers that this rating system and scale isn't necessarily to judge, blame, or shame, but really just to notice and be aware of kind of where we're feeling, where we're at. And I put myself at a 9 this week because although I'm back from vacation, I really stuck to every day but our travel home day Did we close all of our rings? Did we eat well? Did we, really focus on movement and nutrition and really, I think, lead a well-balanced day? And then immediately coming back home, there were a couple of splurges in there. I'm not going to say there weren't. I keep saying that we accidentally bought 2 cases of wine in Napa that will show up in the next couple of weeks. And so I'm looking forward. Accidentally. So I'm looking forward to that. But just, I think, the balance of it all and being able to come back and just slide right back into our routine. Yeah. We didn't skip a beat, both in terms of meal prep and eating, but also in terms of our daily walks. We're walking that 3.5 miles in the morning and in the evening, among other things that we do, and we just slid right back into it. So I'm just feeling great about it. And to your point, Angela, the scale said good things when I came back, even though we're not tied to it. The scale said good things, so I was excited about that. So, Shannon, awesome. With all of that said, on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you put your sort of personal health and wellness this week, and why?
If you asked me the same question last week, I would have probably said a 7 or 8, but I actually started a new meditation challenge last week, and I've been meditating every day for the last 10 days. I used to do every other day. Now I'm doing every day, and I have so much more energy this week. I'm going to go with a 10. I'm feeling really good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'm only doing about 10 minutes a day. I usually, like I said, would do here and there. And I feel like it's made such a huge difference in the way I'm sleeping too. So I'm feeling really good this week.
That's awesome. I love that. And we just want to remind our viewers too, for those maybe that are just joining us for the first time, that we feel that this Friday moment is such an integral opportunity to notice and be aware that, we can let the week bowl us over and just sort of slide into the weekend, or we can kind of notice, be aware, and make intentional changes, whether it be in terms of food, nutrition, mental well-being, movement, as we approach the upcoming 2 days. And so if a change needs to be made, now's the time to notice and sort of set forth those healthy intentions. So with that, I want to turn to our lead story today. It's such a fitting topic and conversation having you on today. Shannon, I stumbled upon this article at travelers.com. I'll, of course, share it in our show notes following today's episode. It's just simply titled Supporting Workplace Mental Health Post-COVID. And before I jump into kind of a couple of the key findings in the article, I actually just wrote an industry article for the association community about the safe return to in-person meetings. And so many of us are looking ahead to those, focusing on them, planning them now. And it was just a good reminder in writing that article that our attendees could experience a range of emotions, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, having just recently traveled to California over the holiday weekend and experiencing all that is different about the world, about the restaurants we frequent, about the hotels that we visit, about the spaces that we sightsee at. Things are changed, things are different, and that might have an impact or a range of impacts on our folks, and just being prepared for how to support and handle that, I think, is important. In my article, I suggested either some emotional support animals on site at your event. I think those are always a big hit and certainly would be, I think, welcomed, but also for groups where it's appropriate, having mental health professionals on site to be able to process some of those feelings and emotions, particularly at these first in-person events back, might be helpful. And you see some of these same recommendations echoed in this article. So I'm just going to pull out these top 5 things to be thinking about when it comes to our employees, but equally applicable to colleagues, friends, staff, family members. And we'd just love kind of to hear reflections, what stands out to each of you in regards to these. So number 1 is just to practice clear and frequent communication. Number 2 is to train supervisors or just one another to recognize employees who are at risk. Number 3 is to evaluate flexible work arrangements and not to expect us being able to flip that switch so quickly from 100% at home to 100% in the office and face-to-face. Number 4 is to consider accommodations, whether it's accommodations to work areas, barriers, face masks, PPE, cleaning, etc. And the last is just to provide access to those mental health resources as I mentioned before. I think that mental health issues could pop up in ways that maybe folks haven't previously experienced, or could be escalated in new and different ways that we're just not anticipating. And so I think it's important to do that. Just at least keep it on our radar. So Angela, I'll come to you first, and just kind of curious, as you hear these things and knowing, that you all own not one, but two restaurants, and, have to navigate a lot of employees. I think that it's both about the things you have to do based upon state and federal guidance, but more so here, I think what we're talking about is what are the things that are incumbent upon us to do as human beings to support one another. What are your thoughts on this topic?
I really liked, sort of that check-in, like, hey, are you okay? I mean, I don't know if any of you out there have ever worked in a restaurant, maybe, through school or whatever, but sometimes it's just like a super fast-paced environment. And as much as you say, leave your personal stuff at home, it's sometimes not always possible. And when you're trying to work together as a team, it's hard. And so I think that, like, true and honest check-in, like, hey, is everything okay? Like, are you all right? And, just giving that person an opportunity to go, whatever it is, like, oh, I'm just super stressed, or I'm super uncomfortable, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's, a lot of us have been working sort of throughout. And so being in that sort of environment is not a new thing for any of us, but there's always stuff that's going on behind the scenes at home. And, sometimes it does make a big difference to say, hey, is everything okay? Are you just like, are you okay? You want to go step outside and have a drink of water with me? Or, just
Yeah.
like when you can take that moment to just pause and just breathe for a moment.
Shannon, I'll come to you here in just a hot second, but I was just thinking, Angela, as you were talking through that often in the association space, I remind us of the 3 Ps. We have people, we have process, whatever process we're using to plan that event, or plan that board meeting, or plan that program or initiative. And then we have that product, that final outcome. And I think that sometimes it's easy for us to prioritize a product or the process over the people. But these 3 elements are so vitally important to the work that we do, and prioritizing one over the other, I think, is a recipe for disaster. So Shannon, jump in here. This is certainly your area of expertise. Tell us what you think and maybe what we're missing.
First of all, I love what was mentioned of that check-in, because I always tell people how we are at home is how we are at work. The patterns that we have at home are the patterns that we have at work. So asking someone to leave something at the door is sometimes not feasible. And what I've been seeing a lot with clients of mine and working with either company clients or one-to-one is that social anxiety is on the rise right now. And that's because we are not desensitized anymore to noises. So I've even had clients come to me and say, I just feel so jittery even going to the grocery store, because they haven't been used to going out and grocery shopping with a lot of people around. And so giving people a little bit of grace and time to settle back into that new lifestyle, what we had in the past. And really the one thing also that really stands out to me is that access to resources, because EAP is great, but it's so underutilized. I mean, less than 5%. In some cases, some EAP companies, like employee assistant programs, less than 2%. And so, like you had mentioned, having that access of a mental health professional on site, somewhere that's safe for them to go to, is giving the employee permission to seek help. It's saying, hey, we're not only telling you that we care about you, but we took action to show you that we care about you. And I think that's the biggest thing that we might see moving forward, especially in the coming months or years. I've worked with clients in the past to help them bring someone on site so they see that access to care right away. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's just important, really, I'll add even a 4th P into this equation, which in my mind is perspective, and recognizing that although maybe we've been living and breathing in a particular home and community and state for the last year to 18 months, that our perspective varies so greatly from those around us or those in other states. from other communities even. I just recently traveled to California from Texas. I like to joke around and say we're the wild, wild west because we've been open technically since February with no specific mask or social distancing or capacity limitations or restrictions. Certainly that has varied by county or by business, but as a state, we've been open. Just traveled to California this weekend for the Memorial Day weekend, and that is still a fairly locked down state where there are still signs posted on sidewalks indicating that if you don't wear a mask, you will be fined. And that's just the mechanics of it all. That doesn't even dive more deeply into sort of the mental toll that all of that changing and perspectives takes on all of us. And so I think it's just asking more questions, listening, Angela, to your point, are all great sort of ideas and approaches here.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, did you have something, Angela?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay, I just heard that.
I don't know.
I heard that on brass, and I was like, okay.
Well, it's just interesting because Michigan is sort of also still one of those lockdown states right now, and like everything is being lifted as of July 1st, and so we even like in the restaurant we're like, well, what are the rules now? Like something changed on June 1st, and now what are the rules? And now because it's just sort of like a weird day-to-day thing, and I think everybody's just got to take it with their own comfort level too, like
and it just adds to the confusion, really. I think
it does.
It does.
That we're sliding into a place that is, I think, very. I mean, a colleague of mine this week put it so well. It's so politically and emotionally charged. Even some of our stances on some of these issues, and so that alone, I think, can be tedious and time-consuming and emotional. Layer on just for the people who are actually suffering from mental health issues, concerns, as they try to navigate these topics themselves in their workplace and as they venture out to conferences and other places, I think can be certainly a challenge. But I'll set that aside for now. And certainly if any of our viewers have ideas, insights, or other resources, I like to always say we come in the spirit of sharing, and we have some of the information, but we know that you have lots of great resources and insights and real life lived experiences as well. So please share them with us. But Angela, the scale has been a recurring topic for us, not only over the last 6 months, not only over the last 18 months, but over the last several years since we launched Healthy by Association. And I know you've had an interesting sort of love-hate relationship over the last couple of months. And, this has come back around. So kind of tell us what you're thinking, feeling, and the mental benefits of it all.
So I recently gave up checking the scale on a daily basis. It was really just messing with my head. And I'm, those of you who have heard me talk lots of times on here, I used to be a Weight Watchers coach, and, everything is very scale driven. And then, Beachbody came up with a program where daily weighing is part of the program. So you could kind of like, take the information and move on. Well, to me, it's just really never been information. It's been informative as to like, you did something right, you did something wrong, you're good, you're bad, you're whatever. And it just messed with me too much. And I'm like, what would happen if I did all of the things that I know to be successful, like I'm making more healthy choices than not healthy choices, or indulging in a, reasonable manner or whatever. Not super restrictive, but just sort of more like staying on the path of making the right choice and the right choice and the right choice, or a better choice, or whatever. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm not saying good or bad, but I'm saying more to a healthier choice than a not healthy choice. Right. And it's starting to pay off. Like I got on the scale May 1st, I got on the scale June 1st, and the scale is down. And if this trend continues and I can mentally like chill about all of that nonsense, I'm going to, the scale's going to end up where I want it to be, and my clothes are going to fit again. And I'm just going to be, cool with that, because I'm not going to mentally obsess about it every morning when I get on the scale. So I'm just here to say, ditch it. Just ditch it.
So
oh my gosh.
I feel like the
Yeah.
wellness leader and coach might have something to say about this. So Shannon, let's turn to
Yeah.
you for just kind of your reflection and insights about what we just heard from Angela.
I think it depends on the person, but most of the people that I've worked with, especially on weight loss, I call them process versus outcome goals with weight loss. And so usually people do better when they focus on the process, when they focus
Yeah.
on this is who I am, this is me at an identity
Yeah.
level. I wake up in the morning and I don't really feel like exercising, but it's just kind of what I do. This is just
Yeah.
what I do. I'm just going to put my shoes on and keep moving. It's a habit. And it's kind of funny that this is the topic because I've been telling people lately, try less.
That's
Because people
good.
will come in and they'll tell me, man, I am so stressed, Shannon. I am so stressed about losing weight. And I didn't do it this time. And then the guilt train happens. And
Yeah.
I always say we don't need to create new age guilt over something that you did or didn't do. And so what I've seen my clients have the most success in is actually focusing on, okay, I enjoy gardening and I enjoy doing these things. And if they happen to step on the scale, then they can see the results from there. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love I always say try less and they're like, what are you talking about? But that's what I mean by that is the more pressure you're putting on yourself, the more it turns
Yes.
into a task. When this
Yeah.
is a lifestyle, so we got to make it
Right.
a little bit of fun, indulge a little bit, but at the same
Yeah.
time, make those other choices. So I
Well,
love that. I mean,
it's funny that you say, Shannon, indulge a little bit. I
yeah.
recently ice cream is just like a thing. Like I just like there's no lifestyle in which I just can't ever have ice cream or ever have chocolate. Like that's just not something that I can do. It's also not a daily occurrence. But I did see these like sort of like mini drumsticks at like Sam's Club or something like that, and I was just like, let's just give them a try. It'd be great to have in the freezer, and we can pull them out when we want to have a treat from time to time. And I don't know if anyone has experienced these mini drumsticks, but when I tell you they're mini, like literally, we
They're
opened up the
teeny.
package and there was like 175 like in this box, and I was like, how is that possible? And they're legit like one or two bites. But what I realized it sort of was funny to begin with, but then what I realized is that oftentimes when I have that like sweet craving or I feel like I've been restrictive, like I've restricted myself from something that I like want or have previously had, that it isn't about the quantity of that thing, at least for me. It's about having those one or two bites, and it does really for me like curb
Yeah.
that craving or that restriction, and I really that's worked really well for me. I've also just found I don't know, I'm going to post this weekend in the Healthy by Association community. I don't know if people remember these like freezy ice pops from at least when I was a kid. Angela, I feel like we're at least in the same age zone. So at least you have to back me up
Yeah.
here, like the blue, the
Yeah.
red,
Yeah.
the purple, whatever.
Cut
And
off the
I just bought a
top and
box of
yeah.
those. Like, I was just like, these babies are 10 calories. Like, they're 10 calories. Like, this is legit, like, something I can, like,
Yeah.
work back into my diet from time to time.
Nostalgic
So,
and fun. Yeah.
nostalgic and fun.
What's
And
your
of course,
favorite
Yep.
color?
well, everyone has one, right? So it's like pink or blue. Like, pink or blue is like my top. And, I'm eating them now, and I'm just like, do they even differ in flavor? Like, I think they're all just like frozen ice. Like, I think
Just what color
they
your
probably
tongue
just have
turns at
color.
the end.
Absolutely. All right, Shannon, we would be remiss to not talk about your show on Be Well TV called The Well Balanced Mind. So maybe tell us a little bit more about that and what we can expect from some of your episodes.
Yeah, so the Well Balanced Mind is primarily based around psychology and mental health and creating more insights to help other people understand themselves more. Because oftentimes what we do is we go through life and we know more about the celebrity up the road than we know about our own patterns that we've had from childhood, our own patterns that we have moving forward, why we make certain decisions, what emotions are coming up for us. So with the Well Balanced Mind, I really like to do an outlay of a teaching style, but also a conversation style. So sometimes I'm on by myself and I'm doing a good teaching on mindfulness or mental health or working with your inner child or hypnotherapy, mental health in general, all those techniques. Sometimes I lead guided meditations, and then other times I'm working with other experts in my field, whether they be functional and brain medicine, providers or body image coach I'm having actually come up in one in a couple weeks as well, and really be able to gauge their insight on those specific topics. So just insights and then strategies, really great takeaways that you can live a happier, healthier life inside and out, and really start understanding what your needs are and what works best for you in your life and fits best in your lifestyle.
So as we begin to transition away from out of past and or beyond this pandemic, I'm curious sort of what question or concern has been risen the most for you, and maybe what's a strategy our viewers could employ to counterbalance or support that challenge in their own lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think well, there's actually two things that come to my mind, but I'll go with the first one that came because that's what was meant to happen. So the primary thing that people have spoken to me about who are really nervous about is going back to work. And what they mean by that is they love the flexibility that they do have right now when they're at home. They can go run and grab a snack when they need to run and grab a snack, or they're just in their jammies or whatever. And so they're really nervous about that feeling. So if you're listening to this and you have that feeling, just know that it's just a reintegration into this lifestyle and being able to really focus on the way that you're feeling and talk to someone about it and be able to really help you pull out of that. And then my secondary answer to that as well is that the anxiousness that we all feel. Now, a lot of us have felt anxiousness for the first time ever because we felt like we're unsafe. And really that's a primary feeling of being unsafe, a primary symptom of that. And so I just want to tell you, you're not alone in this. And if this came up for you, it's because there was a legit reason to feel unsafe. And so being able to settle in and getting out of the house and slow integration, being able to slowly expose yourself to work, slowly expose yourself to going to a restaurant, slowly expose yourself to certain things, it's going to help you really settle into what this new and improved lifestyle is. Because the other thing that I think we all can appreciate on some level is when we've been at home and throughout this last 18 months, we've had a lot of realizations about the things that we want to focus on and improve in our life. And what a beautiful thing to be able to, it is hard. It doesn't make it easy, but what a beautiful thing to be able to sit at home and be like, why is my life not the way I want it to be? And we've had the opportunity to have that awareness, and that's always the first step into creating the change that you want in your life. So hopefully that was kind of a straightforward answer.
Yeah.
But it just a couple takeaways.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. And, for me, a word that jumps out is intention. Intention is so important to us here at Healthy by Association. And I think the time to set those goals or milestones or stretch goals for yourself is not when you're in the heat of the moment, but in a place where you're peaceful, you're calm, you feel safe. And to think about and reflect on, what you have to do tomorrow or next week or next month as, folks either return to work or return to travel for their work. And just really intentionally think about what those small milestones, what those small achievements are going to be, and do it in a very sort of gradual and integrated way, as you've indicated. And don't make decisions in the heat of the moment or the stress of that travel. I can tell you that packing, traveling, and exploring this last weekend was different. It just was. And whether you feel sort of the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, or some sort of in between, it's going to feel different, at least for a while. And just sort of recognize and to the extent that you can, be prepared for that and talk about that with your friends, your family, your colleagues, because I think we're all going through it at the same time. Yeah. Shannon, I'll include in our show notes certainly a link to the Well Balanced Mind, but if folks want to get a hold of you by email or by social media, what's a good way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can either find me on LinkedIn. It's at Shannon Rollins is that name. And then also shannonrollins.com. You can find all my information in there. hello@shannonrollins.com is my email as well. And I'd be happy to connect with anyone about any types of questions that you may have.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Angela, as always. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, this has been Healthy by Association. Until next time, please remember to power your life with health, wellness, and intention. See you next week, everyone.